everybody. Welcome to the August episode of Times Square Today, the official podcast of the Times Square Alliance. And again, we are here right in the crossroads of the world, Times Square, right next to our favorite red steps. And of course, I am joined by the president of the Times Square Alliance, the one and only Mr. Tom Harris. Tom, how are you today?
Doing great today, Dave. It's always great to be in Times Square, and thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. And again, what a amazing day for us to be out here. It's our third show and our third amazing day. You know, the Times Square Alliance, the Times Square team, whoever it is favoring us for these shows. I love it. It's actually, for an August day, it's not hot. It's not steamy. It's one of these amazing days to be out in Times Square. And again, as you can see around us, we have a lot of people here joining us in Times Square on this beautiful afternoon. And Tom, we've talked in the first two episodes about the people coming through Times Square. That number has been growing and growing and growing and growing. Now we have another update on the numbers for this past month. Tom, let us know how people are turning out.
So Dave, our monthly averages are over 200,000 people per day. Last weekend, we averaged over 230,000 people walking through Times Square. And there's a lot for them to do while they're here. Passover is in previews now at the August Wilson Theater. We have a lot of film shoots that go on. You never know what you're going to find when you walk through Times Square.
And that's the best part, right? People are coming back. They're coming back in force. And now listen, guys, if you want to know how Tom gets out there and knows how many people come through, it's because he's out there every day with a clipboard just checking off people every time they cross 42nd Street. No. Of course, Tom has much better things to do with his time. But the cool thing is, if you haven't seen our past episodes, there's actually counters on all of the buildings. And that's how they know who comes through Times Square. That's how they get the accurate reading. And it's just great to see those numbers increase every day. And of course, you can learn about what's happening in Times Square so you can be part of those numbers by going to the YouTube page of the Times Square Alliance, checking out tsq.org. Of course, following this podcast, either the video version on their website or on the YouTube page, or of course on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the places you get your audio podcasts. You can get Times Square Today to know what is happening in Times Square. But Tom, we have a jam-packed show because there's been so much happening in Times Square these past few weeks. We had a TV show filming here.
So we're very excited that Wonderama filmed their entire season from Times Square last week. So a whole new generation of children will get to experience what their parents experienced when they grew up. That's Wonderama, and it's going to be filmed. It was filmed in Times Square, so everyone can see the heartbeat of New York City, the heartbeat of America, Times Square.
And the cool thing, as you mentioned, Tom, it's a family thing, right? This is a generational show. It started in the 1950s. It's now shown in September of this year, 2021. So if you're someone as a child, you've seen that show, now you can share that show with your children, and Times Square can be a part of that. You can bring your children to Times Square to see where that was filmed, see where that stage was, and you can say, hey, this is where the show we watched in September was, and it just kind of brings that bonding family thing together, along with all the other art designs and the billboards, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. It's just really cool that you guys are able to have that happen. How did that come about?
So one of our board members, George Stombley, actually two board members, and Sherry White came to us with this proposal, and we worked with the organizers, we worked with the city to bring it here, and it was great. We saw it was a live audience. Each day we had a new live audience in Times Square, and they got to see Times Square as a family-friendly, alive, energetic place. So it was really exciting.
I love that. Now, the show is hosted by David Osmond. It's co-hosted by Coco and Breezy Dawson. So listen, the cool thing about it, as we said, that shows that Times Square is safe for families to come out into. So bring your family out now. Bring your family out in the future. It's a great time to come because of everything happening here. Of course, New York City in the fall is one of the most magical places. Of course, holiday season is magical, so you have a long time to come out here. Check out these shows to make sure you know when you want to come to do certain activities. But Tom, you mentioned at the top of the show Passover. So we know Bruce Springsteen was here. He kind of unofficially opened Broadway. Broadway kind of officially opened September 14th. But there's a show going to be taking place. Why don't you tell us more about that?
So Passover is in previews now at the August Wilson Theater, and something very exciting. We're going to tell you why this play is like no other play. It started off in previews on August 4th with a block party after the show. So after the audience saw the show for the first time, they came out onto 52nd Street and enjoyed a DJ and a lot of entertainment, and it was just a nice way to connect with the cast and crew and just welcome Broadway back.
I think that's so cool because, you have a block party, you have musical entertainment, you have SNOB, which means Sunday Night on Broadway. You had great food from Haswell Greens, Victor's Cafe, and the M Social Hotel. It really was a full party to kind of celebrate the unofficial reopening of Broadway, get people excited, get people engaged, not just for Broadway, not just for Times Square, but for New York City as a whole. So kudos to you guys for putting that on.
Thanks, Dave.
So now, of course, we talked about all the different things happening here. It's not just Wonderama, it's not just Passover. There's been 32 different TV and films recorded in Times Square in the past month, just the month of July. There's been 50 different events and press conferences. People are getting out. Things are happening. So if you come to Times Square, you're pretty much almost guaranteed to see something happening as part of the Times Square Alliance. But even if it's not, there's a show right behind Tom you can't see on camera. There's great dancing. There's music everywhere. There's so many great things happening all the time. And again, it's all free. But we've talked on the previous shows about the amazing arts programs that happen in Times Square. We had Encore Community Services on last month with Miss Asquizino, talking about the work that they did with Christine Wong Yap. If you missed that show, make sure you go back and check it out. It's an amazing display. How I Keep Looking Up is what it's called. It's almost over. August 9th is when you got to get here by to see it, so come out soon if you want to see those amazing flags and the stories of the seniors. And of course, as I said, check out that previous show. But we have an amazing guest today, Miss Jean Cooney, who is the director of Times Square Arts, and she's the one who's putting on a lot of this stuff. So Jean, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's really nice to be out here with you both, and I just want to say, I can't believe how good Tom Harris is at this.
Oh,
it's like you guys have been doing this forever.
He's amazing.
So Jean, enough about me. Tell us why things keep looking up in the public art world.
All right, so I run the public art program in Times Square, which means we present art in all of the spaces people will let us present art in. So we present sculpture, installation, performance on our plaza. Sometimes we activate vacant spaces. And then for 9 years running, we've been presenting this program called Midnight Moment, where we take over, at this point, it's about 80 different billboards throughout the district with a 3-minute artist video work, all synchronized for the moments leading up to midnight, and that runs every single night of the year except for New Year's Eve, with a different artist's work each month.
It's honestly, we've talked about that on previous episodes. It's amazing to just be here, and I've seen it now. I went to the July one of the days, and it's just kind of surreal to see, again, Times Square, the billboards, you got ads here, videos there, scrolls here. So to see everything kind of just come into unison and be almost one, it's very serene, especially at midnight. It's dark, all the lights are on, there's still a lot of activity going on here. So Jean, tell us about this month's Midnight Moment. We have some great work from Jennifer West. It's called The Painted Cat Hacker Film, if I said that correctly.
You did.
So give us some details about what this month's going to be.
So basically the cats are taking over Times Square. Not the cats necessarily we're all familiar with on Broadway, but a different kind of cat. It's a 3-minute video work by Jennifer West. She's an artist, she's a filmmaker, and she actually is really interesting with her practice. She treads the line between handmade and digital. So for this film, she actually took pictures of her cat, Munchkin, and on celluloid actual film, which I don't think a lot of us really are familiar with or handle that much anymore.
Yeah.
She started pouring different liquids on top of the film to create different effects and drawing over film to make different effects. And then she digitized that film and created this video work that appears on 80 different screens. And so it almost looks like right at the moments leading up to midnight that there's hundreds of cats kind of like glitching the screens of Times Square. It's really fun.
That's pretty cool. I can't wait to go back and see that one. But that makes me, ask, and maybe I should be asking her this. But how do you guys take those photos, right, which I'm assuming are, hand-held, holdable, and blow them up to fit onto screens that are about 50 feet high, sometimes more?
Yeah, I mean, you have to definitely make a work that's high resolution if they're going to end up on a, 75-foot high billboard like we have in Times Square. But we work with a post-production vendor called Indigo Productions that helps us format all of these video works to each of the screens. So they're actually formatting a work 80 times over to the distinct dimensions of each of the screens. And I wanted to elaborate on what you mentioned, is like it really is this incredibly beautiful visual moment where, you know, you have the scale of Times Square all orchestrated and choreographed in sync. You know, we're so used to coming here and being overwhelmed by just like all of the kinetic motion around us. It's so fascinating and spectacular. But when you see it all coordinated as almost like one working choreographed moment, it's really beautiful. And my favorite part about it is that all of these billboards are operated by different billboard owners. So it could be a real estate developer, it could be Morgan Stanley, or a retailer like American Eagle, and basically all of these different, you know, there's people behind each of those screens, and it's all of these different people coming together and saying that they want to hand over their platform to art for 3 minutes together in this like kind of rare moment of unity, I think, in Times Square, which is really fun to see across all the different industries and stakeholders we have here.
Absolutely. And now, Tom, how do you guys as the Times Square Alliance get those different companies, get those different stakeholders on board to pitch in and be part of it? And if there's a stakeholder out there that is not part of it, how can they get involved?
So it's all Jean. Jean is the master persuader, and she it's very hard to say no to Jean. So Jean picks the developers one at a time and the screens one at a time, and she makes them an offer that they can't refuse. And if you think about it, it's a really great way to be a part of the community. And I think people don't realize that Times Square is a community. It's a community that changes every 45 seconds as different people walk through, but the owners, the stakeholders really feel this sense of community, and they all come together for the midnight moment. So if anyone wants to be a part of Times Square Arts, they can reach out to Gene Cooney through tsq.org.
Tom called me the Screen Whisperer the other day, but this is a program that's been building for 9 years. So it started with like 5 or 6 different screens 9 years ago. But I have to say we've made a great headway with more and more participants over the past 2 years. We went from something like 63 to 80 in just 2 years. I think like one of the motivating factors is, you know, I think whether you're a business owner or a property owner, I think everyone understands the value of being able to provide the general public with something really unique. And so I think it's an easy concept to get on board with in that sense. But if you're just looking at, you know, your bottom line, I think, which is okay too, it's like, this is a nice moment to show off your assets. Like, you've got a beautiful screen, and I never thought before I took the job that I'd be calling billboards beautiful, but like, there are some really good looking screens out here, and I think a lot of people want to show that off. There's always little moments and opportunities for your brand to still be present in this cool art moment. So I feel like it serves kind of a lot of different perspectives and interests. Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of reasons why. And Tom, like Tom said, this is a community that's very dynamic. It's very variable based on the time of day, based on the moment, and it's those stakeholders. It's locals. It's people like yourselves that work in Times Square. It's people like myself that work outside of Times Square that come in. It's international visitors. It's domestic visitors. There's so many people here. So just to be a part of that community and kind of and essentially donate that space for 3 minutes. I mean, you are bringing that community together at a time that, again, most places are shut down, right? Yeah. Times Square is still rocking at midnight. We're still moving along here. There's a lot going on at midnight in
Times Square is the reason why they say the city never sleeps, because Times Square never sleeps.
Truly, there are people out here at all hours, and even at the height of the pandemic, you know, when we were asking people to stay indoors for the most part, right? And they often showed pictures of an empty Times Square in the media as this kind of the most succinct way possible to kind of communicate that something really significant and severe was happening in our public spaces. Yeah. We also knew from the pedestrian counts that you mentioned earlier that Times Square was never actually empty. I mean, even at that moment, there were still 30,000 people coming through here every day, which anecdotally we understood to be New Yorkers, you know, essential workers. And so we actually launched a couple campaigns on our billboards in that moment, because who is a better public to serve and try and communicate with through art than New Yorkers and essential workers. So there's always an audience here in Times Square, whether it was then or whether it was, you know, last night at midnight. There were thousands of people out here. And I mean, you know, it's really fun to see this place kind of activated in that way.
It really is. I love it. And then you brought up a great point about, you know, listen, we went through the pandemic. Obviously, we know that, right? But you guys found a really creative way to take some of the tough times of the pandemic, which meant restaurants and businesses unfortunately having to close, and created another arts program to kind of rejuvenate a lot of those storefronts. And that's the STAR program. That STAR stands for the Storefront Arts Recovery Initiative. And Gene, why don't you tell us about that? Because I think it's really cool how you guys went outside the box to create some of these tough visuals and put them into a place where now it's energetic and it's exciting to see it.
Yeah, so it's been really fun. It actually came to us through a couple different civic and business leaders in the city. People from Tribeca Film Institute, some of our stakeholders, Carl Weisbrod being one of them, Jamie Rubin. And it was, a group of people who actually been really active in the recovery of the city post 9/11. So the mindset was very much there amongst this specific group. And Times Square was definitely on their mind as a place that was so symbolic of the health and well-being of the city in many ways, that how can we intervene visually in the landscape to make sure that it's still as engaging and inviting and welcoming and vibrant as possible as some of these businesses get back on their feet. Because, I think especially in Midtown through the pandemic, one of the most common visual features of our landscape was suddenly plywood, and boarded up buildings or vacant windows. And so, that sends a message, and that message is contagious. And so how can we kind of flip the script and send a different message that we are still here, our city is resilient, there's so much to celebrate. And as we keep mentioning, the numbers of people on the streets are only increasing day by day. It's like, how can we bring in artists who we really see as critical to our city, as well as like the health, well-being, and recovery of our city? How can we bring artists to kind of visually speak to this moment and to the public? So we started looking at some of the spaces that were vacant that might need a little love. Found some artists who were really great visual communicators, whether that was through graphic design, illustration, or otherwise, and started pairing them together and asking artists to create specific works for windows all throughout the district.
I love that. I love that. Now, that program was born out of another major tragic event in New York City, which was 9/11. And that program was started by some civic leaders. So that would be Carl Weisbrod, Jane Rosenthal, and Jamie Rubin, where they were trying to do something similar in downtown, rejuvenate downtown during 9/11 and immediately after 9/11, I should say. And so it's great to see that that initiative took hold and can now be shared to other parts of New York City that are facing challenges, other parts of the country or even the world that are facing challenges, as an outside-the-box creative way to be able to keep the energy going, as I said, during tough times. So I want to thank you and Tom and the entire STAR program team for doing that, because again, that just makes Times Square a place people want to be. It helps spur that recovery, and then of course, in the best case scenario, helps get those businesses back occupied, back up and running. So it's all one big, economic chain when you do things like that. So thank you for taking on that project.
Thank you for thanking us. It was really fun to be a part of. And I think all of these things we do, whether it's Midnight Moment or something more responsive like STAR, we're always also looking for ways to support artists, and just kind of brass tacks, giving them paid gigs, as so many of the traditional spaces that support artists are still on pause or working on a limited basis. It's like, if we can offer, an actual opportunity that's paid to our city's artists, we think that that's a really important investment to make too.
I love that. Now, Tom, Jean went through a lot of stuff here. She just detailed a lot of stuff she's working on. And I have about a whole other sheet of other things she's working on. So how do you guys keep her so busy with things to do, and how does she keep coming up so clutch and getting these things completed?
Jean is a dynamo. She is the glue that keeps our team together. And I just want to share with you like a little fun fact about the Alliance. At our board meetings, Jean is our closer.
Oh. I'm the closer.
Jean is the closer because everyone loves to hear the exciting public art projects that Jean does each month. She planned a Times Square Arts Walk for our board, and anyone can actually experience it by going to our website, tsq.org/arts/walking tour, and you can download the map, and you could do a walking tour of the public art that Jean has done here in Times Square. It's really phenomenal.
It's honestly amazing, and we just listed off a lot of art that she's already done, but we have so much more to tell you guys about. So Jean, let's just dive right into it. We have the A to Z guide in Times Square. Now that's by Francis Smith. Give us some more details about that.
Well, Francis is one of the artists featured in the STAR program. And I don't know if you want to go through all of the artists featured in the STAR program. It is a lot.
We don't have to go through every single one, but we're going to touch on a good amount of them.
Okay, great. So Francis is an illustrator and designer, and she created this piece that was, very responsive and specific to Times Square. She didn't use all the letters of the alphabet, but she hit a lot of them, and she thought about what would be kind of a very accessible, family-friendly, fun way to start kind of putting on display some of our most iconic symbols, whether that's related to New York or Times Square specifically. So you'll see sliced pizza, you'll see a pigeon, taxi cab, Yankees cap, or a non-copyrighted replacement for a Yankees cap that looks like one but isn't actually a copyright infringement. But yeah, so this really fun design that you can encounter on 42nd between 7th and 8th.
Love that. So cool. But that's, again, not it. We also have New York Hearts. When I say hearts, because the hearts is actually a symbol of a heart, and that's by Zipeng Zoo. That's going to be at 20 Times Square. Give us some more details about that.
So 20 Times Square is this amazing corner property on 47th and 7th, and they have one of the beautiful billboards I referred to earlier. We're looking at it right now. It's like really seductive and mesmerizing. It's hard to look away. So he's got, Zipeng Zhu is a Chinese-American graphic designer. He does really vibrant, colorful, fun designs, and he created something for both the billboard at 20 Times Square as well as the really large-scale windows below it. So if you look across the street at the building, it looks like the first 2 floors have been taken over by a giant face of Lady Liberty. And it's almost as though the billboard above it becomes her crown, where he has a series of animations that pop up a couple times throughout the hour that are all just really love letters to New York, as well as this message that, like, New York loves you back. Sometimes New York can feel like a tough place, and we know we love it, but does it love us back every day? Sometimes it's hard to tell. So it's kind of this message that this is mutual appreciation and love that he has both for the city that he also feels in return, in reciprocity from the city. It's really fun.
And it's so cool, as you mentioned, it's a in-life artwork for the bottom 2 floors, and then it's a digital artwork on top of that, and it flows together. It's really cool to see. Again, as Gene said, we're looking at it right now. I mean, we can't see it on camera, but I can see it right over my left shoulder. And if you guys come out, you can actually view that every hour. At the second past the hour, 9 minutes past the hour, and 42 minutes past the hour, every single hour throughout the day. So make sure you guys come out and check that out. But we are still not done. We have Andrew Banneker and the gang's all here on 225 West 42nd Street. Let us know about that.
Okay, so that property is also on 42nd. It's run by the New 42, which is an amazing theater group and more that's been kind of central to the district, an amazing fixture of Times Square in the performance world as well. And they have an artist in residence that works with them on a lot of their visual and graphic designs. That's Andrew. And so he created, it used to be a PAX market, but it's been vacant, as many spaces have been for the past year. And so he created something specific for the windows. It's really fun. It's just these fantastical creatures. Again, really vibrant, kind of silly, little tongue-in-cheek, totally eye-catching, kind of stops you in your tracks as you're walking down that sidewalk.
It's so cool. It's very colorful. It's very, your imaginations really get sparked by that, because a lot of the creatures involved in that are kind of things of imagination. Mm-hmm. So it's, again, you walk through that with your family, your children get involved, your adults can get involved, everyone's part of that. So it just kind of goes back to that thing we were talking about earlier, Tom, of Times Square really being a family-friendly place that you need to bring your kids out to. No matter how old or young they are, it's a place they can enjoy all around. Now, Gene, we still are not done. We have Damian Davis and Albert Josue Piguero, and I think I said that one right. Now, the name of this is in Spanish. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I don't speak Spanish, and I don't want to butcher it, but in English it translates to Through the Blinds. It's on 1460 Broadway. Let us know about that amazing piece. Okay,
so in Times Square, we do consider billboards spaces, so to speak. So even though the program was designed mostly for street-facing storefronts, we also wanted to throw our billboards in the mix, because why not? And so, A Través de la Persiana,
thank you,
or in English, Through the Blinds, was created by this duo. Damien and Albert are actually friends, collaborators, and they had this idea of, they call it Campo Futurism. So kind of like celebrating both the cultures that are rural, Afro-Latinx, and queer, all kind of intersecting and enmeshed in one, and trying to pull out symbols that are simple and iconic from across all of those cultures. And so, you know, you have these silhouettes of that almost look like architectural features from the Caribbean. Then you have these opening and closing windows that are almost like a nod to the old school peep shows of Midtown Manhattan. And it's just this animation that features symbol after symbol with opening and closing blinds around each of them that pops up, I think, twice an hour on these billboards at 1460 Broadway.
And I love what you just said there about the different cultures that this piece encompasses and kind of intertwines, because that's obviously a symbol for Manhattan and New York City in general. I mean, you literally can find somebody of every culture, of every demographic here, no matter who you are. You will find somebody like you here, and I think that's what makes New York so beautiful and such an amazing place to be, not only to visit but also to live. So this piece really kind of is a symbol of that, and I think it's really cool they intertwine all that together while also speaking back to some of the old peep shows that you talked about and making sure that people are kind of remembering the history. Now, if you guys saw that, that's what's great about this show. We have two young children enjoying Times Square. They see us filming. I'm not sure if you caught it on camera, but they scream something to get on air. It's awesome. I love it. I love that we're down here doing this, Tom, with the people in Times Square, so that type of stuff can happen.
They said Gene and Times Square Arts rocks. I heard them.
Yeah, I think I heard that too.
That's what I heard too. I absolutely 100% agree with them. And I think it's so cool that we are being able to have such an impact in Times Square and that community you're talking about. People want to get involved. So Tom, this is a great thing. But Gene, are you part of the weekly events that we talked about on the last show, Jazz in Times Square and Broadway Buskers? Is that you as well?
I mean, I just started working on those programs for the first time. They precede me for sure, but I've gotten involved in them this season, and it's been such a pleasure, such a joy.
It's unbelievable how much you're doing, number one. And number two, again, these are weekly programs, guys. So every Thursday, 6 p.m., you come to Times Square, you're going to see a jazz show. Not just any jazz show. We're talking about the Lincoln Center Jazz Show. So they come down from Lincoln Center. So you're talking about top-notch quality artists for free in Times Square every Thursday, going on right now through September 30th. But also on Fridays at 6, you have Broadway Buskers. Right here again in Times Square through October 1st. And that's where Broadway composers, singers, actors, they do original pieces. They do things that they create. They bring it out to Times Square for the people to see. So it's stuff you literally cannot see anywhere else. You can't buy a ticket to it. You can't go into a Broadway theater and see it. You can only see it here in Times Square for free. So again, no reason not to come out, no reason not to enjoy it. The weather is beautiful. Bring the entire family, but we are still not done with you, Gene. We still have the Carnegie Hall citywide with the Harlem Quartet down here in Times Square. Now that's a one-day only event. It's not a weekly thing. So make sure you're here Wednesday, August 18th at 5 p.m. Carnegie Hall is going to present the Harlem Quartet. Why don't you tell us more about that taking place in Times Square?
Well, I can just say, I mean, about all of the Plaza programming, whether it's Carnegie Hall, our friends at Jazz at Lincoln Center, or if it's our individual Broadway performers, I say it's a pleasure and a joy, especially this year, to see all of these folks, these talented musicians and performers come out because, you know, much like our visual artists, like their work has even more so been on pause for the last year and a half. And so a lot of these talented musicians are coming out for the first time to perform in front of live audiences. I know a lot of people have done stuff virtually and, you know, over Zoom and from their homes and been incredibly innovative, but there's nothing like a live and in-person performance, both for the performer and for the audience. So they've just been really charged and emotional, all of these performances so far, and it's just been such a pleasure to witness them. Honestly, performance is part of Times Square's DNA. You talk about its history, you know, and so to get as much performance out into the plazas and to people as possible, especially in this year, has been really incredible. And then also to showcase the talents of all of the incredible other cultural institutions we have around the city, like Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, to show off all of their artists and connections and programming skills. It's been really fun, and it's really great to work with and for people who are so supportive of the arts in that way.
And Jean has an amazing team that she works with, and really the whole team at the Alliance is amazing, very mission driven. Every day they think of new ways to improve and promote Times Square, and it really is a pleasure to sit here and listen to all the great work that Jean and the team is doing.
Now, Tom, let me ask you, because again, you work in Times Square, you're here every day, and you're involved in everything going on here. What is it like for you to be able at times to take in some of these pieces? It's just a person walking through Times Square, trying to kind of separate yourself from Tom, the president of the Times Square Alliance, to just Tom, the person in Times Square. Are you able to do that? How are you able to kind of enjoy these artworks?
So the other night, I was able to come with my family to see a show at the New Amsterdam Theater. There was a Disney production. It was 4 artists that did all of the Disney songs, and it was absolutely fantastic to walk through Times Square on a Saturday night as a tourist. And it was really, really, really exciting to disconnect. And what was great was looking at Times Square through the eyes of a 9-year-old and twin 7-year-old girls, my nephew and nieces who we took with us. So it really is amazing and fantastic. And I'm excited to come to Times Square every day. And really, every day, it's a new experience.
I love that. Well, Jean, thank you again so much for everything that you're doing. How can people get in touch with you, get involved with you? If there's something they want to, throw at you as like an idea, how can they reach out to you?
Well, they can write to me, so I can give my email address. Do I do that on the air?
Whatever you think is
we
best.
We have it online.
If it's online, it can go on air.
You can, right, that's true. So you can write to me at jcooney@tsq.org, and we can talk public art. And like Tom mentioned before, if you are a business owner here or you live in Times Square, you have access to things that you want to, you want to see engaging with artists directly, like we can talk. We can figure out how to bring art to wherever you are or how to show off what you have through the arts and engage more of the public in Times Square. And then, we've got our projects online. There's so much to see. I know there's so much to see in Times Square in general, so it's often, pretty overwhelming, but we have all of our current projects up, from Midnight Moment to the installation you mentioned with Christine Wong Yap to our star properties and all of those fun things, all online for you to check out.
So awesome. Well, Jean, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you sharing some insights to all these amazing things we've been talking about for the last few months. So
thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Tom, amazing stuff that Jean is doing. Now, we can sit here all day and talk about it. We can spend hours in here, we can go see the pieces, but we do have to get this show going forward because you have to get back to running Times Square. But I cannot go further without talking about some of the great historical facts that we've talked about. So we threw some great facts at you last month. We got 3 facts coming up now. We're going to run through them really quick. Just 3 things I want you to know about Times Square. And the first one is this really cool thing on top of the Marriott Marquis, which is right to our right, and that's called The View. If you're not sure what The View is, it's a restaurant that actually rotates. There's a couple of them around the world, but this is actually the only one in New York City. So if you want to see a true 360-degree view of New York City while you're enjoying an amazing dinner, head over to the Marriott Marquis, go to the top floor, sit at The View, and watch that restaurant rotate around. You will literally not get a better New York City experience. And of course, right here in the heart of Times Square. But Tom, the NASDAQ sign. We talked on our first episode about how important that partnership is with you. Tell us about the NASDAQ sign. Just tell us about how big it is, because I have a fact on top of that.
So the NASDAQ sign is 37 feet high.
So that makes it the largest LED screen, not in New York City, not in the country, in the world.
Yes.
Right here in Times Square, that NASDAQ sign. So make sure you guys come and check that out. And now, Tom, I'm going to kind of stump you here. I know it's hard to stump you about Times Square facts, but where is the one place that you can see every light from Times Square all at once?
Outer space.
Ah! Yes, it is. Outer space.
The lights in Times Square are so bright that in outer space, you can see the lights.
And I thought I was going to get you, Tom. And I said the last month we were doing this, it's going to be tough to get you. I thought that was going to be the one. I wanted to get it out of the way early, but again, Tom got me good. So I'm going to keep trying to stump him Maybe we change the name of this segment from Historical Facts to Stump Tom.
Stump Tom. I like
Something
that.
like that.
I'd come back for that segment.
It's going to be tough. So we're going to try to stump Tom. Listen, guys, if you have some facts about Times Square, they got to be real, of course. Send them over to us. We want to make sure, we want to get them on air. We're going to try to stump Tom. One day I'm going to get you, just not sure what it's going to take. But Tom, this was another amazing episode. Gene put in so much content. I really appreciate it. So I want to talk really quick again about the Reported app. I know we talked about it the last 2 months here, but it's that important. We're going to talk about it again. So listen, guys, if you are in Times Square and you see something going on, please report it to the Times Square Alliance. It takes nothing. It's an app download or it's a text message where you can get an anonymous submission tool to tell the Times Square Alliance what's happening. So again, it's not your emergencies. If it's an emergency, please call 911. Find a police officer on the street. There sure are plenty of them around, making sure everybody here is safe. But if you text Street Watch to 63975 or download the Reported app, you can tell someone if a street light's out, if a trash can is full, if a sidewalk happens to be broken or a curb is a little bit damaged. They can then come out and fix it for the people. Times Square Alliance is out. There's a street team. We talked about them. I see them all the time, especially now because I'm looking for them, because I'm doing this show with you guys. Before, I never noticed them because they were just doing their job. They were doing a great job. They were kind of those people like an umpire in baseball, right? The best work they do is when you don't know they're there. You don't even know the Times Square people are here because everything's done. It's clean. It's taken care of. They are so amazing at what they do.
They are the unsung heroes of Times Square. The men and women in our operations division, both public safety and sanitation, work tirelessly to make sure that Times Square is clean and safe. And if we miss something, if we don't get it right, please use this Reported app to let us know so that we could go out and fix it. Our goal is to make Times Square clean, safe, and inviting for everyone.
Can I also add that none of the things that we talked about, whether it's a storefront activation or, performance on our plazas, could happen without our operations folks, our colleagues in sanitation and public safety. It absolutely wouldn't happen. So I'm grateful for them every day and the work that they do to make all those things possible.
And they all work so hard. And again, now that I do the show with you guys, I see them out there. And it's not just like they're there from 9 to 5. I mean, I go through here at sometimes 6, 7 in the morning going to work. I leave work 9, 10, 11 at night. They're out there. They're sweeping. They're public safety officials. I mean, they're working hard. And again, we said this in the first episode. You don't know what their work is because it's done already. But if they weren't doing it, you would know really quickly. You would see the trash on the street. You would see the gum on the street. You would notice there's no safety workers out there. So it's an amazing job they do to take care of such a vast, elaborate place that is changing, as Tom said, every 45 seconds. So kudos to everybody out there working for the Times Square Alliance operations team. And thank you guys for making this show possible, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you guys again for everything you guys do. And again, the Reported app, make sure you're helping them take care of things by reporting stuff, because again, they can't be everywhere at once. Of course, we have the great visitor kiosk on 45th Street. Make sure you guys check that out. Whether you're a local or a visitor, they have great information about what's going on. Of course, you want to make sure you're checking out this show, but they're a great resource to find out about some of the other things happening, as well as some more detailed information about the things we talked about here. And then, of course, you guys have to make sure you're following this show on the Times Square Alliance YouTube page. Just search Times Square NYC. Go to all the different social channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Times Square NYC is where you can get all the up-to-date information, because again, Tom, we're coming here once a month, but there's things happening every day. So you want to make sure you know what's happening when you're coming and all the cool things that Jean and her team are putting on. And then, of course, go to Times Square, the Times Square Alliance's website, tsq.org. That is tsq.org. Could not be more simple than that. Wow. We pack a lot into about 40 minutes. So, Jean, Tom, thank you guys for once again being here with me. Any last words, Jean?
No, it's a thrill to be here with you guys in Times Square. Thanks for doing this.
Tom, thank you so much for having me on once again.
Thank you, Dave.
Well, guys, make sure you check us out next month. Of course, we have the amazing official reopening of Broadway. We're going to be talking about that, of course. And then, of course, October, November, holiday season is coming in. We are back, baby. New York City is back. Midtown Manhattan is back. Times Square is back. It's not coming back. It is back right now. You have to take part of it. So, for Mr. Tom Harris, for Gene Cooney, I am Dave Miana. We will see you next month.